Would you mind telling us a bit about the project and what your client was looking for?
Yeah, sure. So they really wanted this sunken conversation pit feel, but we're kind of limited by space down here. So what we wanted to do was get something custom made so it felt really bespoke to them and sort of cross that bridge of being functional but also really decorative and meeting that design criteria for them. And I think this is sort of exactly what we ended up achieving.
So, Claudia, why this design? I know it was quite a custom piece. And
It is.
It was quite a lot of fun to make. But what made you go for the lines?
Well, I think we were kind of inspired by sort of the Milo Bauman feel and that, really retro shape and design. We wanted something that was super practical, but held on to that design element. So I think having the diagonal stitching through it added that little bit extra design flair. And then the choice in fabric was really important. So we wanted something that was going to add another layer of materiality in this space, because there's like wood, there's stone, there's the steel doors, there's bricks, and we wanted something to soften it. And so this velvet in the caramel color was sort of kind of the perfect blend.
Okay. It's actually a really cool color.
It is, isn't it? And I think also what was important was somewhere where the legs could extend to a point, but it wasn't going to encroach on the feeling of space in the room. And I think we achieved that perfectly by having that sort of subtle curve around to meet the stairs. Yeah. And then the depth in this sofa is perfect to be able to sort of lounge back, lie down, have a couple of people watching a movie at the same time. It just sort of hit all the marks.
How did you find the process working with us and the selections and the service that we offered to the end product?
I mean, it was pretty easy. The first time we met you, I think what engaged us most was the fact that sort of nothing seemed to be a problem, which is always what I want to hear from suppliers and trades that I'm using, is that anything's possible. And I think that is sort of the key piece of information. We knew that we were going to be able to decide on how firm this sofa was. We knew we were going to be able to decide on how high the back was, how deep it was. And they were all options that were always sort of presented to us along the way. There were sort of some constraints with the identity of the sofa in terms of the level of stitching that was required that was different from usual and how the fabric stretched and moved. But we were able to communicate with you along the way and, instead of changing what we wanted for the end vision, you sort of made it happen.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
It was a challenging project.
Yeah.
The lines, making them meet up and choosing, that fabric that will allow us to keep that solid line was good fun, as I said.
But the devil's in the details. I mean, it makes such a big difference, and I'm glad we didn't compromise on that and that you were able to achieve the end vision.
So did anything stand out in terms of the service and the support that we offered throughout the process?
Yeah, I think as I go back to what I said before, that anything was achievable, and that's always what I'm looking for when I'm working with people. So yes, people working out solutions to things and how we're going to make them work was really important to me and helped the process feel seamless, and we trusted that the end result was going to be what we wanted.
What was your client's reaction to the lounge when it got delivered?
That was an exciting day because this was one of the hero pieces of the house. So having that come that day and sort of holding our breath to make sure it fit perfectly within the stairs, fit perfectly with the height, all of that kind of stuff was really exciting, and it was perfect. So one of the homeowners was here with me and the other was not and didn't get to see it till after, but all of us were just so excited about how much it elevated the space. The colour was perfect with everything and just really grounded the whole space, and everyone was super excited and thrilled, and I think it kind of exceeded expectations, which was a lovely surprise.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
You did a fantastic job with the space. There's so many unique pieces.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
It's a beautiful home.
It is a beautiful home.
It was actually great talking to you at the beginning and hearing what you had in mind for the place, and then actually seeing it come together.
Yeah.
Because you can't see the whole picture until the end. So
it is an exciting.
I love
it was a very exciting project. The kitchen is beautiful, and this sort of complements everything perfectly. There's a vein in the kitchen that's kind of got a caramel tone to it, so that's why we sort of lent into this colour here, because it's sort of threaded throughout the house. So loved it.
Wow.
Now, it was one of the first fabrics that I think you might have shown us. So
yes, I believe it was. Actually.
Yeah. So, and it was a really quick, good, easy decision.
I never actually looked at this colour as something that stood out until this project. And now every time I see it, it's such a nice colour. Claudia, did the final outcome align with the vision that you had?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a no-brainer. We didn't want it to feel too stuck in an era, too stuck in a certain style, and I think it sort of balances all of those perfectly, aligned with the final vision. And that was to ground the space, give it a sense of comfort, tone, texture, give them that feeling that they just want to jump down onto the sofa, which is, something the kids do. They can, jump from the kitchen into the sofa. Yeah. It's super durable. So that was sort of important. There was going to be a lot of wear and tear. But again, it delivers in spades on the design element, which is, for me, as a designer, that's more important than the functionality. But I always have to balance the needs of the clients with my own visual needs. Yeah.
I'll go off a bit off track because I know with the client, there were conversations going on here and there, I think between you and then between us. And we did have a few adjustments in terms of functionality for them.
Yeah.
My question is, the changes that we suggested, did it work for the client?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a really, really key element. Again, for me personally, when working with suppliers, is that I get to lean in on their expertise. And you've made a million sofas, and we want the advice from the experts in terms of what is that depth that you are going to be happy with in the end. If you compromise, on 300 mil, is that going to reduce the overall aesthetic? How well it functions for you, how comfortable you are, and having direct responses to that feels reassuring for myself and the clients, so they can sort of trust in the process that you know what you're doing. By reducing it or lowering the back or anything like that is probably going to compromise on the comfort of it, and so you wouldn't recommend doing certain things, or you would recommend doing others. So that's really useful information.
Perfect. I'm glad it helped.
Yeah.
So we did help with all the drawings.
Yes.
At the beginning in terms of how it's going to look. Was that service helpful to visualize?
Yeah, it was. It was definitely helpful to get a visual of it. Some clients really lean into those visual aspects of it and need to be able to invest the money in something custom. They sort of want to see what they're going to get from it in the end. It's not the same as going into a shop and you can see exactly what you're going to get. So having those references, having the fabrics, having examples of what the stitching is going to look like, having examples of what the shape's going to look like, how it's going to feel, all of that adds to the trust in the experience.
Worth going custom.
Absolutely. There's not even a question. So when we started, the clients had actually already bought a sofa prior to engaging me, which they really liked. And it was a really traditional white slipcover sofa.
Yeah.
So once we got down into the nitty-gritty of the design details, it quickly became apparent that wasn't going to do the room justice. And the best way to move forward was doing something custom that fit the space. And yes, it may have been a little more expensive than buying something off the shelf, but in terms of longevity and them sort of getting sick of it or replacing it in a couple of years' time, it's far outweighs having something custom that was built just for them than getting something off the shelf. So I would absolutely say with tricky spaces, having something custom, even to the point where we allowed 2 inches of space so we could put a PowerPoint down the side. All those tiny little details made a really big difference into how they actually live in this space.
I agree. I think it's going to last them 10 odd years. So definitely an investment, but in most cases worth it, I guess, for a project like this.
And you know what? If they get sick of the colour, we can always reupholster it.
Exactly. I'm just thinking of all these lines.
I know. Maybe we'll choose a pattern next time so there's no lines. No, a pattern next time so no lines. Did you want to speak to something about like a more bespoke residential project versus commercial?
Yeah, and I guess we could also touch on the first time I got here, it was a shell.
Great.
And we had to put everything else kind of in place to work out the measurements and
I remember when you first came, there was nothing in here. We had a concrete slab.
Yep.
We had just joists in there for a step up. You had to sort of jump down onto a cinder block to get down here.
Yes,
so it was a process to get to the point where we could do all those final measurements and everything else because there's so many moving pieces to this puzzle. Skirting boards, the height of the floorboards, the steps weren't in yet, anything like that. Often sort of in these residential projects, it is a little more fiddly and the time frame was a little more extended because we were waiting on those build elements that impacted how perfectly this was going to fit. And something you often said was, no, I'm not going to come do that measurement until this is exactly in and we know exactly the height of that because otherwise we're going to be off. And you were right, because until we had those final elements in, it was too risky just to take a stab.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the lounge is probably the easier part to change.
Yeah.
As opposed to grinding a floor back.
Yeah.
It allowed us to get started at least. So when I was on site the first time, we took our rough measurements. We started getting the design files done, the drawings, and getting that aspect out of the way. So when it was to a point that the flooring was down and the stairs had been installed, we were kind of hit the ground running at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think we even got delivery of the sofa a little before the final promise date, which was a good surprise.
Correct.
Yeah.
we definitely ran a bit late.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, but it was a great experience. Definitely happy with how it all turned out, and would use again.
Fantastic. That's great to hear.
So when you do residential, using this job as a barometer, how highly designed are the sofas usually?
This one would have, I'd say, 70%.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some really tricky jobs coming up and some that are incorporating stone and drawers and lighting. And it was definitely, I think, a challenge with the lines. I think that was the biggest challenge. In terms of the shape and design, it's something that we've done iterations of many times before.
Yeah.
So if I was to put the lines on that barometer, I'd say it was 110%. In terms of the design, not too outside the box of what we already do. So.
And you know what? Without the lines, you wouldn't have had us so happy.
100%.
Yeah.
It's what made the lounge. And I have seen lounges like this that we've built without the detail. And if the designer does it right with the fabric and textures, sometimes I'll put 2 tones in it and they'll get a great looking lounge out of it. But what I love about this is the simplicity.
Yes.
It's clean.
Very.
It's not gaudy in any way or over the top. It's just stylish. The lines just, make, it's a detail.
Yeah, amazing. Great.